Hello. For the children's sermon today, we're going to be reading a family favorite book of ours called God's Very Good Idea. It's written by Trillian Newbell and illustrated by Catalina Echeverry. As we're reading, we're going to be thinking about what God created. He created us. He created all of us. And what his plan is for us. So let's listen and find out. In the beginning, in fact, before the beginning, God had a very good idea. God's idea was to make people, lots of different people, who would all enjoy loving him and all enjoy loving each other. They would all be made in his image, and they would all be like mirrors, reflecting what God is like. Because God is full of love, they would be full of love too. Maybe you can see in the illustrator put little hearts on every person's chest because we are all full of love. All of God's people were made in his image, and all of them were different too. Some were men, some were women, some liked reading, some had darker skin, some had lighter skin. And some liked riding bikes. Some had curly hair and some had straight hair. I'm going to summarize a little. God made a perfect world, but then sin entered the world and things got hard and there became many problems because of the sin. And there's a lot of strife and difficult things. But God was not surprised by people ruining things. He had always had a very good plan to rescue his very good idea. And I bet you know what story we're talking about here, that God came to rescue his very good idea. He came to rescue us through Jesus. Jesus loved people who were different than him. He loved people no one else loved. And maybe you remember some of these stories too from the Bible. He always enjoyed loving all the different people he met. Jesus shows us how to enjoy loving each other. But people didn't love Jesus. Instead, they hated him. They put him on a cross to die. But this was part of God's plan. On the cross, Jesus took our sin so that we can be forgiven. Jesus forgives his people for their sins. But Jesus didn't stay dead. He rose back to life and went back to live in heaven. And then he gave his people his Spirit to help them enjoy loving him and loving all the different people they know. In the Bible story that we're going to read later, the Spirit is really important because the Spirit comes to someone different than the Jews for the first time. Jesus helps us to love each other, and you might see different pictures here of people loving each other, and that would be ways that you love people too, in your family or in your school or in your community. One day God will finish his very good idea. Jesus will come back and make the world perfect again, and anyone who has asked Jesus to forgive them will live there with their different languages and skin colors. And we will all enjoy loving God and loving each other. Jesus welcomes anyone who asks him to forgive them. And when Jesus welcomes someone, he welcomes them into his family forever. He welcomes people who like reading, people who like riding bikes. He welcomes people with darker skin and people with lighter skin. He welcomes people with curly hair and people with straight hair. God's family is called the church. Your church friends are your brothers and your sisters, your wonderful and colorful church family. You can enjoy loving them and loving God with them. I really love this picture because I love that I am also able to sit at that beautiful table with all of God's people. And they're so different from me. And that's one thing that is extra exciting for me. I want to invite other people to sit at that table with me so that we can all enjoy loving God and loving each other together. There's a little summary of the book here. It says, God made it, people ruined it, He rescued it, He will finish it. That's the good news. People of God, what is your prayer for these children? May the Lord be with you and also with you.